applaud you, and I congratulate you for being here. And each and every one of you are certainly welcome and certainly appreciated to be here. So thank you. I want to start off by recognizing some of our sponsors. We had a lot of people step up to the plate and really help us pull this event off tonight. And if you would, please stand and be recognized and remain standing as I call your names. I just want to show people how important your role has been in pulling this together. Montana Board of Crime Control. Brenda, do you want to stand up? Thank you. We have some great folks from State Farm. We have some local folks, Riley McGibbony. Daniel Losk from the corporate over in Washington. I think we lost Mark Spear. He left already. Darby South. Sean Kelly's. Anyone from Sean Kelly's here? Youth for Christ, the City Life Community Center. Please stand. You guys have done a great job. The Office of Planning and Grants, Cindy Wolfcool, Peggy Steele, and Dave Dewing. Mismo Gymnastics and Cheer. Kelly, are you here? No? United Way of Missoula. Yay, thank you, thank you. First Security Bank, the Great Northern Branch. And we have some wonderful folks from Mariah's Challenge, and you're going to meet them in detail later, but I want to thank Leo McCarthy, Janice and Jenna McCarthy. Not sure if they were able to make it tonight. Okay. Dan Haffey, Jim Kilmer, Chad Okrish. Again, you will be meeting these guys in detail, and they'll be working with you guys tonight, so I'm really excited to have them here. Thank you very much. The Montana Department of Transportation, Director Jim Lynch. Thank you. St. Patrick Hospital, Michelle Schaefer. And of course, our friends from SAMHSA. I also want to send out a great thank you to the Frenchtown Community Coalition. They were a good sponsor with us, and they're working hard out in Frenchtown to change things. Thank you, Lo. Please stand. I also want to thank our local partners, so the usual suspects, and you guys know who you are. You guys are the ones that come to our MUSAP meetings on a regular basis. You attend our meetings on a regular basis. We put you to work more often than not, and we're just very thankful that you're part of the team. So if you're one of our local partners, please stand up, be recognized, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We also have Sealy Swan Coalition working for youth with us tonight. Katie, where are you? Katie, stand up. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, I want to recognize the staff at the Missoula Forum for Children and Youth. You guys got to deal with me over the last 2 years and put up with my shenanigans, and I appreciate you. Nina Kramer, she is the coordinator for the Youth Development Network and Media Literacy. Susan Barmeyer, she is the coordinator for Healthy Start. Thank you, Susan. And Lacey Nelson, she coordinates the Missoula Forum for Children and Youth. Thank you. It's amazing to me to look around the room and see how many of you I consider near and dear friends, and how many of you I consider partners and cohorts and everything that we do year-round here in Missoula. So thank you. Yes, please give yourselves a round of applause. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We also have some other partners, some new and some old, that have been here tonight with information and education, and they are here. First and foremost, I want to thank Warrior Auto Works. You guys have been entertaining, to say the least, but helpful. And they are here talking about the ignition interlock device. So they have a pretty unique take on it, and I hope that you guys get an opportunity to visit with them and their site and see what they have to offer. They're pretty new on the scene in terms of partnership with MUSAP, and we're thankful to have you guys. Thank you. Appreciate you here. In cohorts with them is DMB Ignition Interlock out of Billings, Stan Morris. Thank you for being here. Tobacco-free Missoula. Yes, thank you. We have the National Guard folks in the back, and I appreciate your help. Thanks, guys. And the Missoula City County DUI Task Force. Thank you. I really hope that you've all had an opportunity to check out the amazing displays that we have here tonight. There's a lot of interactive demonstrations going on tonight, in addition to the wonderful guest speakers that we have. First and foremost, the Missoula Forum for Children and Youth brought you the Hidden in Plain Sight bedroom. It's basically an opportunity for youth to be, the high-risk items that youth may have in their bedroom to be identified to parents. So we're asking parents to go through that bedroom, look at it, pick up the items, take them apart, look at them, and learn what they are, and actually start the conversation with your youth before you need to start that conversation with them. So find out what's in your house. We're not asking you to dig through drawers, read diaries. Look at the obvious things that are in your home, okay? So great interactive display back there. We have the MIDAC unit, which is the Mobile Impaired Driving Assessment Center, and the folks from the Montana Highway Patrol brought that to us second year in a row, and we're very thankful to be partners with them. Thank you very much. In addition to the MIDAC unit, we also have the Montana Department of Transportation project, Respect the Cage, and that's just basically an opportunity for you guys to go out and view, an accident-involved vehicle, take a look at what happens to a vehicle after it's in an accident, and look at the demonstration of what happens if you wear a seatbelt versus if you don't wear a seatbelt. So, and we have Director Lynch from the Montana Department of Transportation, and I just cannot say how excited we are to have them. This is the first time we've had that display, this demonstration here in Missoula. And we hope to wear it out. We hope to bring it back as often as we can and as often as it's appropriate. So, would you like to say a few words about that?
Thank you very much, Mindy. We probably should thank Mindy for organizing and putting this all on, right? Right here in Missoula, and some of you may even know the people involved. And we had a very tragic accident just outside of Mullen with two young people in a vehicle, one, the driver wearing a seatbelt, and the passenger not. The car went off the road at a high rate of speed, went end over end, rolled 4 times, and when the car came to a stop, the driver was able to open up the door and go look for his friend. His friend was ejected during the accident and died. And it doesn't just end there. It tells a story of what follows afterwards with both families involved and how it changed the course of life for many people on a simple little accident. And we ask ourselves, we asked ourselves at DOT, how can we prevent this or try to work in an area to prevent this from happening again? And a lot of times, you see commercials on television that a police officer pulls over a car and they say, "Sir, have you been drinking?" And there's alcohol floating to about his chin and whatnot. And I appreciate the effort of that type of a commercial, but it's not real. And when we're dealing with a demographic that we need to deal with, which is a high-risk demographic, 16 to 34-year-olds, we really need to be able to reach out and touch them in a way that they can experience what might have happened in that vehicle without actually having to do it. And that's very difficult. It's very difficult to do. We all make decisions based on our experiences. We all do. The older we are, our mind is developed to the point in which we can appreciate the experiences of others, formulate them into the decision-making process that we make. The younger we are, we don't have that capability. So we knew we had to develop something. We need to tell a real story, one that was not made up. We had to tell a real situation, something that we could grab a hold of, and about Montana. And our whole intent was to address Montanans. What we didn't realize is the success of that story, the room to live, the commercials that were developed, and how it reached across the Canadian border and from coast to coast, and showing the video of this particular accident and what happened. We took that whole concept and theory and grew from it and decided, we've got to get this out into a venue in which that demographic is there. Go to the fairs, go to the high school crosstown football games, go to events like this, go to malls, go to the areas in which they're at and develop a theme that is attractive, one that grabs them in. And the theme is all about the fastest growing sport in this demographic, and that's ultimate fighting. If you're over the age of 30, you probably don't know what that means, or you probably do now, but if you're under age of 30 and go ask that demographic, they'll tell you it's the fastest growing spectator sport, both men and women of that age group. And it was really an interesting concept because that whole sport is driven around a cage, the octagon, and the power of the octagon. And that's where things are made. That's where you're a champion. You respect that cage. Well, the automobile manufacturers have done the same thing. They've built a roll cage inside that vehicle to protect you. The safest place in an automobile accident is in the vehicle. Safest place. And the only thing that can keep you in that vehicle is a seatbelt and the right attitude before you got in the car, which means you don't drink and drive. And we pulled both of those concepts together. We used that ultimate fighting theme and developed with the use of the vehicle, the real vehicle, the vehicle that actual accident happened, an actual fatality happened, both involving impaired driving, both involving lack of seatbelt use. And we wanted to get that message out across the state the best we could. And it's been on all the fairs through the last summer. Katie Potts back here with the Department of Transportation, she's actually in charge of this program. She's booking it and scheduling it. And Katie, we're booked pretty good, aren't we? 30 events from now until September. Did you say September? So it's going to be out and about the state. We're willing to go anywhere, look at any size audience that we can. It's important. It's important to try to get that demographic to experience or get as close to experiencing what it's like to be in a rollover accident without actually having to do it, so that hopefully when they have to make that decision, they'll make the decision, one, not to get in a car impaired, better yet, not get impaired, and two, make sure they wear their seatbelt. And I look out over this group and I'm absolutely amazed at the difference in age group, and it's very important because the old concept, it takes a community to raise a child, and that's exactly what we're doing here. It's going to take you as adults, and Leo and the others here for the Mariah's Challenge are going to talk a lot about that program, and that's an important step for that demographic to take, but it's even just as important for you that are not in that demographic to support it, because they can't be successful without your support, and it's very encouraging to see the difference in ages that are here tonight, because they're going to need you. They're going to need your help. There's a concept that we borrowed from a TV show that we use in Highway Traffic Safety Office at DOT all the time. And there is no, and it goes like this, there is no goal line in highway safety. There is no goal line. And it's something we all have to understand, because we're going to reach a point where we're going to need to step aside and someone's got to be there to pick up for us when we leave and keep this message going. Because even if we get to the point, which I think we can, to where we don't have impaired driving in the state of Montana and where everybody's wearing a seatbelt, our job just begins. And it doesn't end at that point. So there's never a goal line in this process. We constantly got to have the conviction to keep this concept going and work this cultural change, because it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time to change what we need to do when we drive on Montana's highways. Mindy, thank you very much for organizing this, and thank you for asking us to be a part of it. And if there's anything we can do for the city of Missoula or other areas in trying to get this message across, we'll do everything we can to get there as fast as we can without breaking the speed limit. How's that? Thank you.
The point that he makes about having no goal line certainly applies to the coalition work that we have at the Missoula Forum for Children and Youth. We have some great successes to show around underage drinking in Missoula. And it is in part to all of the phenomenal people that showed up tonight to have this conversation. So you guys are part of the change, and I appreciate that, and I want you to know that it is changing. It's not a culture that's going to change overnight, but it is changing, and we are having some positive efforts happening. We have some great partners, some great projects that are happening throughout Missoula County. We started 2 new coalitions in Missoula County out in Sealy Lake and Frenchtown, and we're excited and we're proud of those efforts, and we like to brag about those. So, and when we brag about that, we're not bragging because it's Missoula Forum for Children and Youth. It's not because it's Missoula's substance abuse prevention team. It's because of all of you in the room, and it's all of our partners and agencies that help us to meet our goals every year. One of our goals every year is to have a town hall on underage drinking, and prevention specialists all over the state of Montana are tasked with the same thing. And we challenge ourselves every year to come up with something innovative that continues the conversation about underage drinking, continues the conversation of drinking and driving, continues the conversation about the culture of alcohol in Montana. And this year, we had kind of a different approach to it, and I want to share that with you. Ironically, the Missoula Forum for Children and Youth and the Missoula Underage Substance Abuse Prevention Team, we wrote a letter to the Missoulian on December 20th, and we were thanking the Missoulian for its great coverage on alcohol-related issues. They had done a series on all of the issues related to underage drinking and prevention and drinking and driving and the culture. And we were really excited about that. It was some good media that was going out. It was positive, and it was getting the message that we work hard to get out. So we thanked them. Unfortunately, it was 6 days later, December 26th, the day after Christmas, that we were reading the same paper as a tragic event unfolded in East Missoula. And some of you are familiar with that. Most of you are familiar with that. It impacted most of Missoula. And there was an alleged drunk driver who hit 4 young girls over in East Missoula, and he fatally injured 2 of those gals. And he injured and permanently scarred 2 others. And so we knew that the town hall this year would have sort of a different feel to it, and we really wanted to bring our A game. We really wanted to find a way to respond to that tragedy. So that was our first thought process. It wasn't too long later that we were dealing with another alcohol-related incident that was fairly tragic here in our community. And we realized that this wouldn't be the first, and it wasn't the first, and it wouldn't be the last. And so planning the town hall and how do you come about that, and ideas had been circulating, and we were kind of talking about what might be important and what might be a good idea. And I had the opportunity to go to a conference over in Butte, and sort of one of those things I wasn't really planning to do. I was headed to Vegas, and that was what was on my mind. But I took the time out, and I went over to Butte, and I can honestly tell you that I am sincerely happy that I attended that conference. I spent 2 days at a leadership conference over in Butte, and when I first walked in, I was so surprised because it had more youth than it had adults. And I thought, wow, this is pretty powerful, and how did they get all these youth here? So that was my first impression, but as I sat, just this warm feeling came over me, and I can tell you that those 2 days were certainly not wasted. I came back, and I talked more about the conference than I did talk about Vegas. So I think that speaks volumes for what it did for me. I came back, and I said a couple of things. I said after I met Leo and Jim, and I knew Dan Haffey previously, but after I met these guys, I said, wow, you know, I feel like these guys are part of my family now. Because when I listened to their story, it hit me. And it hit me not because of the tragic piece of it, but it hit me because of the hope and healing that it brought. And that was the piece that I thought was so powerful that I wanted to share it with every single person I loved and every single person that I had ever met and worked with here in Missoula. Because I think that their message does more than I could ever do in a whole year. It's powerful, and I hope that you take with it the same kind of compassion, hope, and healing that I did from it. So I am sincerely excited that they agreed and they're part of this event this evening. And I want to introduce Dan Haffey. He's a prevention specialist for Butte Silver Bow. He's tasked with a lot of the same things that we're tasked with here in Missoula. But he is, again, a prevention specialist with Butte Silver Bow, and he's part of Mariah Challenge.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here this evening, and I'm overwhelmed to look at the number of people, adults and youth, that are at your forum tonight. I can't say how important it is to work on issues that we're working on in Montana, because we all know the magnitude of the problem. The problem has been there for a long time, and it doesn't seem to be getting a whole lot better, even though progress is being made. And a lot of progress has been made right here in Missoula, Montana. I look out here and I look at colleagues that I've worked with for many, many years, my good friend Rosie Busses, who made changes in laws in Montana with regard to keg registration well before other states even thought about it. In fact, I was in Iowa last year with my wife, and they were just talking about looking into a keg registration law. And I said, my friend Rosie did that a couple years ago. So we have done a lot of positive things in Montana. Director Lynch has been there for us in Butte since the start of Mariah's Challenge and before. He is an advocate of positive programs that work with young people. I can't say enough about the character of the people I get to work with in this field. The people like Mindy and the people like Lisa and Lonnie Hutchison and Jim Lynch and these three fathers that are sitting right here. They have taught me about character and what it is to do the right thing for the right reason. At a time when they could have been very bitter about something that happened, they chose to make something positive from that tragedy. And you're going to hear tonight from these three fathers in different ways, their different roles in what has happened in Butte. And it was shuddering to me during December to see that Missoula had a tragedy very similar to what happened in Butte. And I hope, as Mindy said, you can help us to heal, and maybe we can help you to heal. We're not here tonight to say this is a program that we want you to start. We're here tonight to show you something that we've done and hope maybe you can take it and we can learn from what you do as well. It's a sharing thing in Montana, I guess. I've seen, like I said, some good things happen in the last few years, although we need to do a lot more work. We need to do a lot more work on issues such as minor in possession laws, how to adjudicate and be consistent across the state of Montana. We need to get tougher on DUI laws. I think that's agreed in every county in Montana. And with the help of good caring professionals and people like yourselves that are obviously here to make a difference, we're going to do just that. The story of two of these fathers and my work together started many years ago. Sergeant Jim Kilmer started working with me on an MIP class we put together about 12 years ago. It was a Saturday morning class that students and parents had to come to, and they had to sit for 4 hours. And at the beginning of the class, we had a lot of resistance from parents and students as to why we have to put in so much time just because we got an MIP. At the end of the 4 hours, I can tell you almost every time those parents were thankful that they had the opportunity to sit and learn about what could have happened and what is happening all over the country these days. It's a different world out there. And Sergeant Jim Kilmer would share experiences, and he would share his insights as to what he has seen over the years. And he's a great speaker, because every time I would look at evaluations, the evaluations wouldn't say anything about me. They would talk about Jim Kilmer and Leo McCarthy. And I was so impressed with what they would say at my classes, because basically what they said is what they had seen. Leo McCarthy, as a State Farm insurance agent, talked to parents as a parent. And he talked to them about things he had seen, like a simple issue of a young person having their spine fractured, and the opportunity of the best surgeon in the area trying to put that back together. And he took a simple cotton ball and he pulled it apart. He said, now tell me if that surgeon is going to put strand for strand back together so your child can walk again, because they were riding their motorcycle too fast, or they were drinking and they jumped off of a diving board and into the wrong spot. And all of a sudden people started to realize that most of these things happen when young people take risks when they're under the influence of alcohol. Because we all know when you fracture your spine or you sever your spine, you probably aren't going to get a walk again. And I had one of those situations with a young kid in Anaconda in like 1986. The kid was in an MIP class, and he was kind of smug about the fact that he had no intention of quitting drinking. He said, my father is an alcoholic. My friends all like to drink, and they were kind of snickering with him. And he said, I'm not going to quit drinking just because I'm coming to this class. And I didn't really want to push it any further than that, because I knew there was no arguing with this kid. And within 6 months of him making that statement, he was the one that rode a motorcycle around a corner in Anaconda, Montana one night, hit a telephone pole on his motorbike, and severed his spine. He sits in a wheelchair to this day. And I often have wondered over the years how many of those friends that were laughing and joking with him that day have come to pick him up to go to ball games or go to movies or just hang out. Because I can tell you that they would have said they would at the time, but after it happens, as time goes on, these young people want to move on, and they want to distance themselves from what happened that night. And every time they see that young man, they're reminded of the fact that maybe they could have done something to stop it from happening, like not let him get on that motorbike. But that's hindsight, and we all know where that gets us. And on time after time after time, I have seen great kids from great families make that one mistake that turns their life upside down. It's not about being a bad kid. It's about a culture that is accepting of something that is not right. It's not okay to drink until you're 21. My friend Leo right here would say, if you're an adult over 21 and are responsible, you have a right to drink. If you're under 21, don't do it. It's that simple. It's against the law. And Leo McCarthy was one of those people that came about 6 years ago into my class because I asked to have someone come in and talk about liability issues that people are facing time and time again today, where they might host a party and somebody, gets hurt or injured at the party, and all of a sudden the family finds out that their insurance won't cover the cost of the damage, where the young person may be hurt or damaged, and in some cases maybe in a wheelchair, and that family may lose everything they have. So he would talk often about the insurance ramifications, about social hosting, things like that. And Leo often talked in Butte about the fact that our culture in Butte is very accepting of underage drinking, the rite of passage thinking. And we do have that. You know, I don't know that we have it any worse than other places in Montana, although I've taught classes in 10 different communities in Montana, and I could ask any crowd what town in Montana has the biggest problem with alcohol, and guess which town comes up over 90% of the time? Which? Butte? How come? How come you're saying that? Because of one day of the year, we get tagged with being the worst town in Montana. Just happened last week. I can tell you one thing, things are changing in Butte, Montana on St. Patty's Day. Sergeant Jim Kilmer 2 years ago put together a task force to deal with underage drinking. We really hadn't focused on it up to that point. So Sergeant Kilmer now takes a team of 6 officers and targets underage drinking. And we let college people know you're welcome to come to Butte on St. Patrick's Day. If you're 21, you're welcome to drink. If you're not, that guy is going to get you. And in the past 3 years, I think he has caught well over 50 young people every year. They're all from outside of Butte. He's not targeting outside of Butte. He's targeting young people that are drinking. Everybody thinks it's okay to come to Butte and tear up that town on St. Patrick's Day. Butte doesn't have the worst alcohol problem in the state, not by far, believe me. But if people perceive that to be true, people come and tear up the town. So things are changing across the state. Leo McCarthy in my class, he warned parents, he warned students. He said it's going to take a tragedy in Butte, Montana before something will finally take hold and people will make a change. And unfortunately, he's going to tell you about that tragedy tonight. I also have a good friend, Chad Okrish, Dr. Chad Okrish, who came to be involved with this as a result of that night in October 3 years ago. And as a result of that, he is passionate about what he does now with our group and trying to move the message along. And that message of Mariah's Challenge is moving rapidly across Montana into other parts of the country. We have been at national conferences where people, if Leo could fly every day to another city, I think somebody would want him to be there. But because of his time constraints and working where he does with State Farm, he just can't do that right now. Maybe someday that will be a reality. But the group that we have that is working on Mariah's Challenge in Butte, Montana, we're doing what we can. We're doing what we can to move the message along. We've got a great team of people. We've got people like Bill Foley who writes articles in the newspaper in a sports column that mentions Mariah's Challenge and the impact that it's had in our community. So it's not just, you know, coalition people, it's people from all walks of life that have joined our efforts. Dr. Okrish wrote a song as a result of the tragedy, and he's going to share it with you tonight. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Chad Okrish. Appreciate you. Are you ready to go?
Yeah. I think that we'll get it figured out. You bear with me for 1 second, everybody. Okay. I don't think I'm not going to be able to amplify the guitar, so this isn't exactly a song that you scream. So we'll do our best this evening. I want to thank Mindy and thank all of the partners, the Missoula Forum, the team that's working on underage drinking and prevention, every one of you who is here this evening. Community doesn't create itself. You have to step into a community. You have to reach out to each other. You have to communicate and share ideas. And we create the world in front of us as we exchange those ideas and we learn from one another. It's been said that Montana is a big city with long roads. Unfortunately, more of our people die on those roads than any other place in the country per 100,000 miles, and largely because of our adolescent attitude toward drinking and driving. And we are here tonight because we're the fathers of daughters. I have 8 weeks ago, I had a new daughter. I have a new daughter. Her name is Sophia. That means wisdom. And I have a 12-year-old daughter named Carly, and that means strength. I have a 16-year-old daughter named Caitlin, and that means purity. And on the night of October 27th, 2007, my daughter and her two best friends, Valerie Kilmer and Mariah McCarthy, were walking some friends home. And on their way home, they were struck by an F-150. And it was, I don't know how to I can't explain or rationalize anything that happened after that. It was the worst night. And you can all imagine as parents or friends of getting that call at midnight and rushing to the hospital. And by God's grace and will, bigger plan that I can't understand, my daughter survived, Jim's daughter survived, and Mariah was taken from us. And one of the ways that I tried to make sense of the world is through music. And this is the song that I wrote for the McCarthy family. I only play it a couple times a year, so if I mess up, please bear with me. Can you hear that in the back? A star in the heavens was born new that night by the light of the October moon. It sparkled and like her crystal blue eyes, oh Mariah, you left us too soon. The angels all whispered her name on the wind. Mariah, why have you gone and left them all here without a best friend? How will we all carry on? Mariah Day, oh Mariah's night. The heavens all sing upon gossamer wings. The angel Mariah took flight. Now I see your face when I close my eyes, and I like to think you are here. You flutter those wings without making a sound. Are you trying to dry all my tears? You flutter those wings without making a sound. Well, you'll never dry all these tears. Mariah Day, oh Mariah's night. The heavens all sing upon gossamer wings. The angel Mariah took flight. The heavens all sing upon gossamer wings. The angel Mariah took flight. A star in the heavens was born new that night by the light of the October moon. It sparkled and like her crystal blue eyes. Oh, Mariah, you left us too soon. You sparkled and like her crystal blue eyes. Oh, Mariah, my God, we miss you. Thank you. I'm not going to quit my day job, which is I'm a college professor at Montana Tech, and recently I earned my doctorate, doctor of philosophy. I've been in school so long, my grandma said I could have been a real doctor. But I teach ethics. I teach applied moral reasoning and problem solving and decision making and about character and compassion and justice and all those morally loaded terms that we think about and that we address and that are at the heart of the issues that we're dealing with right here about making the right decision and doing the right thing. And I teach my class that the truly difficult decisions aren't choices between right and wrong. You're supposed to do the right thing. The tough decisions are competing goods or the lesser of two evils, right? You're supposed to do the right thing. And part of the beauty and the elegance of Mariah's challenge, which you'll hear about in more detail this evening, is that it's completely uncontroversial, that we're just asking people to do the right thing. When Mariah passed, several days after that, at her eulogy, her father stood up in front of the community of Butte and challenged the community to do the right thing for the right reasons, for the future of our community. And essentially it comes down to this. As my good friend Dan Haffey has already said, if you're over 21, don't drink and drive. This isn't abolition. It's not about abstinence, complete and total. If you're over 21, you have the right to drink. I like microbrews. I have one a couple times a week. It's not about that. It's don't drink and drive. If you're under 21, don't drink. It's against the law. It's not the right thing at this point in time. You'll have time for that later. But the challenge is extended further. If you are a member of our law enforcement community, enforce the laws equally, justly, keep our kids safe. If you sell alcohol or are in the distribution business, check IDs. It takes a village. And what we're trying to do is create a next version of this community that's stronger and healthier, because how many people here think we're doing the best we can right now? We may be trying as hard as we can, but we can do better than this. And in a nutshell, the message is about that. I thank you for stepping out and reaching into the community, for being here and sharing this evening with us. And it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend, my brother, Sergeant Jim Kilmer from the Butte Silver Bowl Police Department, and the father of Valerie and all of his other kids. There's a ton of them.
Thank you very much for having us here. I'm not as smart as my friends, so I have to write some things down so I don't forget them. First of all, I'd like to thank our military personnel that are in the room and law enforcement, police, fire, ambulance workers. I, for one, truly appreciate what you do, and thank you for your service. Just quickly, I want to begin by thanking you for the invitation to be a part of this event and to express my sincere sympathy to all of those that have been affected by the many serious tragedies that have plagued your community in the recent months. These tragedies have a profoundly traumatic effects on the immediate families of the victims and their friends, on your community. They're felt deep by many people throughout the state who feel your pain and know all too well your sorrow, your confusion, your frustration, and your tremendous sense of loss. Mariah's Challenge has developed because of a tragedy hauntingly similar to those, or similar to the one that you have experienced here in Missoula. Our hope is that people throughout the state of Montana can join in this grassroots movement and make Mariah's Challenge the voice of the innocent, the voice of all the innocent lives that have been taken by drinking and driving. Mariah's Challenge began with two goals in mind: to encourage people, young and old, to adhere to two commitments for life: no underage drinking, no drinking and driving, including no riding in a car which someone has been drinking. That's how it all started. That's what it was about. I guess I probably should introduce myself. My name's Jim Kilmer. I'm 49 years old as of a couple days ago, and I tell you that just so we can kind of connect a little bit. I've been married for 23 years. I have 5 children. My daughter Elise, who's 21 now, goes to school at Carroll College. My daughter Lindsay's a student at Montana Tech, and she's 19 years old. My daughter Valerie is 16 years old, and my daughter Elena, Valerie's a junior at Butte High School. My daughter Elena's 8th grader at East Middle School in Butte, and my son Will, he's 10 years old. He's a 6th grader at West Elementary in Butte. I tell you that because I want you to know, people introduce me sometimes as Sergeant Jim Kilmer, and I've been with the police department 30 years now. I've been there pretty much my adult life. Spent 18 years now on the street, and I spent prior to that 12 years in dispatch. So I know a little bit about law enforcement. I know a little bit about raising kids. And parents, believe me, trial by fire sometimes. There's no manuals. I want to tell you that I wrote this down, so I gotta tell you about it, so I wouldn't forget it. It's clear that we need to do more. We need to develop an attitude within our state and a reputation throughout the state and the country that Montana is a state in which drinking and driving under the influence will not be tolerated. The only way for this to be accomplished is for our state legislators to get the message from people that they are very elected to represent, that we are not satisfied with the laws as they stand. People who drink and drive should not be treated with leniency for a first offense. First-time offenders hurt people. First-time offenders kill people. our laws need to be changed so that people don't get the get-out-of-jail-free card available for the first time. First-time offenders need to be dealt with harshly. Our compassion and sympathy needs to be with the innocent victims and their families. Our strength is in each other, ordinary people connected by pain and loss for the sake of our children. Let's stand together and change the attitude of acceptance. Why Mariah's challenge has been focusing on people that make positive choices. It's clear that we need to put the pressure on our lawmakers to punish people who choose to break the law and endanger the lives of innocent people. You know, I'm not used to talking to a group that's like this. Our audience typically is kids. And so young people in the audience, I'm going to speak to you a minute. I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy nights to be here. You'd probably rather be home doing homework or something, right? Yeah. Young people, we know as adults you guys are going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. I don't know if anyone's talked to you about brain development and what happens in your brain now as you're starting to develop, but that part of your brain that sees consequences isn't fully developed. You can't see what's going to happen if this happens. That your brain's just not there yet. Some research says that it takes until age 25 before that part of your brain's fully developed. Well, adults, we want to steer you around some of those potholes that you're going to find when you're growing up. One of those potholes might be underage drinking or drinking and driving. One of those potholes that we're going to steer you away from is the use of illegal drugs. And we'll talk to you about those things, and we'll say, you know what? You know, when I was young, I did this, and I don't want you to make that mistake. And I hear it from young kids all the time, well, my parents did it. Well, I can do it. I want you to do a little thing that we call in law enforcement, and the military uses it all the time. It's called ROEs, Rules of Engagement. It's real simple, young people. It's before you get into a situation, you got to know how you're going to respond. So if one of those potholes is underage drinking, what are you going to do if somebody shows up in your house and they bring some alcohol and your parents aren't home? What are you going to do? What are you going to do if somebody shows up at your house and you go jump in a car with them and there's alcohol there? What are you going to do? You got to plan what you're going to do in that situation before you're in it, because guess what? You'll make a mistake. Parents, you can what if this all the time. You can ask your kids, what are you going to do if you go to the prom tonight and somebody has alcohol, or somebody wants to smoke a joint or smoke some pot, or whatever your terminology is? What are you going to do? We got to talk about it with our kids. Put them in that situation without putting them in that situation. And talk about what choices can be made. Real simple. It doesn't cost anything. Just some time. Rules of engagement. What are you going to do, young people, if someone brings a Vita water to school and they put alcohol in it? What choice are you going to make? You know, we all kind of, even as adults, young people, we all kind of draw lines in the sand, don't we? We kind of say, you know what? I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a good job. You know, you draw that line in the sand, and maybe you'll accomplish that. Some of those lines that we draw in the sand sometimes are, you know what? I'm never going to drink alcohol. You draw that line in the sand. One of those lines might, I'm never going to smoke pot. You draw that line in the sand. One of those lines might be, you know what? I'm not going to have sex before marriage. You draw that line in the sand. When you start jumping over those lines, it's pretty hard to jump back, especially if you're pregnant. Parents, please put your kids in those situations without putting them in the situation. They'll thank you for it later. You know, we talk in MIP classes and different things. Geez, how do we influence behavior? You know, there's all kinds of things out there. Well, one thing you guys all know, and that's education. The more education or the more you know about something, the better choice you can make. We tell it to our kids all the time in the schools. Try to give them the information and hope they make a positive choice. Another thing that can influence behavior is what I call a significant emotional event. Now, what is that? Well, to different people, it's different things. Let me give you an example. A significant emotional event might be you watching your grandfather die in the hospital of lung cancer because he smoked 3 packs a day. That might be significant enough to you to draw that line in the sand and say, you know what? I'm never going to smoke cigarettes. I saw what it did to my grandfather, and I'm not going to do that. Significant emotional event might be what happened to us on 9/11. We changed the way we do things in this country, didn't we? I mean, if you've been to the airport lately, they do things a little bit different. That event was significant enough to change the way we do things. Some of you are old enough to remember Columbine High School when Klebo and Harris went into the school and they killed 12. I think they injured 23 others. It changed the way we do things in law enforcement when we respond to an active shooter in a school. We don't wait around anymore. That was significant enough to change the way we do things. Let me tell you, October 28th or October 27th, 2007, I was home in bed. I had to work at 5:30 the next morning, and the phone rings. My wife picks it up. It's 1:45. And caller on the other end said, is this the Kilmers? My wife said, yes. She said, do you have a daughter, Valerie? My wife, yes. What's the matter? You need to come here. She said, well, where do I need to come? You need to come to Blacktail Lane. There's been an accident. Parents, you don't want that phone call, believe me. But we got that phone call, and I'm kind of waking up, and I'm hearing what's going on, and my wife's saying, yeah, okay. And she hangs up the phone, and she said, Jim, we got to go to Blacktail Lane. There's been an accident. Valerie's been in an accident. We got to get there. And I'm thinking, I'm saying, well, why are we going to Blacktail Lane? How come we're not going to the hospital? She said, I don't know. Well, I said, well, call her back. She hits the redial button, and this lady had brought her house phone off the cradle and out to the accident site where 3 girls were ran over by a truck. And my wife called her back and said, why are we coming there? And she said, trust me, you just need to be here. So we get in our car, and we live a little ways out of town, and I know right where Blacktail Lane is. I've lived in Butte all my life. I'm going down the road, and I'm trying to visualize what's going to happen. What are we going to see? There's been an accident, and all those things run through your mind. And I can honestly tell you, it's the first time I've ever gone to a scene where I was actually scared of what I was going to see. First time. I hope it's the last. As we rolled up to the scene, I say rolled up, that's police talk. As my wife and I drove up to the scene, as we got up there, got out of the car, and naturally the lights from the ambulance are going, and the fire department's there, and the police are there, and I'm looking from here to the back of the room, and I can see that things are happening pretty quick, and as my wife steps out of the car, and we take about 4 steps, she says, "Oh my God, there's her shoe." And she picks up a shoe, and there were some other shoes there, and I thought to myself, you know, and law enforcement and rescue people in the room can tell you, when you see shoes at a scene and people are working on people a long ways away from those shoes, things aren't good. As I rolled up to the scene, or as I ran up to the scene, there were 3 bodies laying next to a fence, and my partner, Josh Moore, who I've worked with for a number of years, was working on my daughter, and people were working on Mariah, and Caitlin was next to her, and we could hear some screams, and my buddy looked at me and he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "That's my kid." We don't need to load our kids into ambulances because somebody chooses to drink and drive. We need to change the way we do things. From that point on, we change the way we do things. Will it make a difference? I don't know. We need your help. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine that we've known each other since high school, and I don't really believe he needs an introduction. Mr. Leo McCarthy.
Well, thank you. Before I start, we're going to show just a small video of where we have come from of October 28th. And then I'm going to get into a few things. I do want to say that I know we promised to get you out at 8:30. I may go a little bit above that. But I'll take you with the journey that I experience every second of the day. So I'll have you play the video.
I'm sailing away, set an open course for the virgin sea, 'cause I've got to be free to face a life that's ahead of me. On board, I'm the captain, so climb aboard. We'll search for tomorrow on every shore, and I'll try, oh Lord, I'll try to carry on. I look to the sea, reflections in the waves spark my memory. Some happy, some sad. I think of childhood friends and the dreams we had. We lived happily forever, so the story goes. But somehow we missed out on the pot of gold. But we'll try,
Well, I am not Colt Anderson or Brian Wilson or Rob Johnson. I'm very uncoordinated, so I'm going to move all this stuff off the stage before I kill myself. Thank you for letting me come here. It is a pleasure to come to Missoula. You have a very unique town here. I, for one, enjoy coming down here. For the main fact is that you have a mixture of stuff that's unbelievable here. I'm born and raised in Butte, lived there all my life. I'm a product of the greatest generation. My mom and dad were Depression-era babies. I'm 11 out of 11. I know I wasn't planned. I'm married for 23 years to wife Janice, and Darby and Riley will attest, as I will, I married up, right? In football talk, it's like you're out-kicking your coverage. You know what I'm talking about. I have 2 children, Jenna, who's a U of M student, freshman down here, and Mariah, who's in heaven. I've been with State Farm for 22 years. I've been a claim rep, part of that, and an agent. You're looking at a guy that was an agent, a policyholder, a claimant, and a beneficiary in one situation. If you do not have a relationship with your insurance agent or your company, whoever it is, please do. It can happen like that. You have some people here, talk to them, please. Because when that moment happens, you need something there. And all I know is State Farm. And if you can, talk to your agent, whoever you have, and speak with them, please. I'm not here to preach. Really, I'm here to learn. Because Mariah's challenge is an infant to me, and it's growing. But it's growing with pains. And I want it to be a tool for all of you. I'm not here to tell you I know what ails your community, but I do hope you take something from it and maybe start something here. If you check mariahschallenge.com, steal everything off it if you want. Use it. Darby and Riley are the area people here. They're looking to start a scholarship program that's based on simple self-respect and living a life of brave self-respect by giving back to your community, but also saying no to drugs and alcohol. That's all it's about. Pretty simple. And for those who lost loved ones to the disease of deniability, which I call drinking and driving, I understand. Because I can understand. That is a social sickness that we have, and we need to correct it. And I hope Mariah's challenge will always be for that. I've been accused of a lot of things, that I'm the new anti-drinking mug. It's an ugly mug, but it's not about that. If you're 21 and over, you can drink. If you're under 21, it's against the law. I've received hate mail. I've received some goofy stuff in the paper about Mariah's challenge. It isn't about raising your children. It isn't about me taking your place as a father. It's about giving you a tool at the most best place to talk and create change. It's the dinner table. And that is how we change our society. We don't need more laws, but wait, we need one better law. We need to make drinking and driving a felony on the first time. Because you know, it just isn't Sally Sue getting a jug of wine, guzzling that wine, and driving to a soccer game. Or it isn't Josh picking up a six-pack and going to a baseball game, throwing 4 beers down and getting a DUI. On a national average, it takes 250 times for someone to get caught for a DUI. And what Montana does, it treats it as a cold, the first one. We pat you on the back, give you a fine, and say, hope you learned your lesson. Not until the 4th one is it a felony. And then we treat it like pneumonia. We need to take the target off our youth. And we need to make it stricter and more prevention treatment after the first DUI. You don't get a second chance when your child's killed by a drunk driver. You do not. And the only thing out there right now that's protecting us from that sick minority that's living that sick lifestyle is right now is a double yellow line, and our warriors on the streets and our highways are here. That's the only thing stopping us right now. And we have to be better. But you know, there's more of us than them. And this is a stop. This is where we begin in a community. We did it in Butte after October 28th. You can do it here. And I tell you, my foundation, Butte, stands there to help you. But you can make it Missoula's own. Understand, we'll be there for you anytime, any day. Okay, how did it happen? Bear with me. October 27th was a beautiful day. I woke up, and I had to go help Montana Tech. They had a homecoming. I always brought my kids to the games when they're little. I brainwashed them, and so I can get out of the house and go to a football game. And as they got older, they said, yeah, you know, Dad, it ain't cool hanging around you anymore. I said, that's okay. So that day, Mariah was still kind of cool to hang around me. She was 14. And I'd wake in there every morning and wake her up. And mind you, she was a typical teenager. She wasn't any better, any less than a teenager. Liked to sleep in, liked to bug you quite a bit if she wanted something, which is genetic for a teenager. And I remember waking up in the morning and say, get up, we got 5 minutes, come on. Of course, with her hair, you know, that's 4 of the minutes there. And I remember waking up, and she'd wake up and put her heads on my shoulder, and I, like a goofy father, would say, you know, make it your day. Attitude is everything, you know. And she said, yeah, Dad, whatever. Well, that morning, I didn't get a chance to wake her up because she slept in on a Saturday. I had to get to the Tech game. So I'd call her on the cell phone. I said, okay, where are you? Well, I'm with Valerie and Caitlin. We're on our way up. So they came in the game, and it was halftime. I looked at Mariah on the cell phone. I said, come down. I want to get you some money for eating. So she came down. I'm on the sideline. She comes up, and you get one of those private moments. You look at your children and go, God, she is so beautiful. And she is my daughter. And I'm so proud that I can call her my daughter. And we all have done that. If you get that moment, parents, say it. Give them a hug. Give them a kiss. Because you never know. And at that time, I said, okay, meet me at halftime. I will get you home, and I got to clean up. So after the game, Valerie and Caitlin, they all jumped my little PT Cruiser, and I'm cleaning up, and we're going down the road. And they always went to this pizza place after the game. So I dropped them off, and Mariah's in front. And I said, come on, give me a kiss, give me a hug, and here's some money. It's the only way I could bribe her. And, of course, she did this characteristically way for me to give her a kiss. She always bent her forehead down. I said, can I give you a kiss on the cheek? You know, I'm a dad. No. So that was it, and that was the last time I saw her. I went to a Tech game, or went to a Tech function, and we're sitting there, and my phone rings. And I pick it up, and I couldn't hear it because I got 4 other messages. And I pick up the phone, and it says, Dad, you need to get to the hospital. Mariah's been hurt. So, you know, being a claim rep, being an agent, I thought, okay, whiplash, got rear-ended. Well, we got into St. James, and there's a hallway of kids sitting there. And there was friends there, and there was the Kilmers and Oak Crushes there. And I go into the hospital, and there's my wife at the door. And I say, what happened? She goes, well, they were just walking down on a pedestrian walkway a block home, and they got hit. So I go to the front window and I say, hey, can I see my daughter? She goes, Leo, they're still working on her. And I knew what that meant. Well, how it got there is that they were at our house, Valerie and Caitlin, having a sleepover. Their curfew was 11 o'clock. Some other friends came over and they were playing basketball. My house was the neighborhood playground. They were always there. They were safe there. And these kids had a later curfew. So, of course, what does a teenager do? Mom, 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 can we do it? And where do you go? No, 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 until the 15th time you say yes. So they were always told to walk on the pedestrian pathway. They walk in their friend's home and got on the pathway, and an individual who decided that he had more right to be on the road drunk than those three girls hit them. See that sign on the door over there with the two lights on it? He hit them. Their shoes were left right here. That's how far he drove them. The individual turns around, comes back. This is the pathway, parks his vehicle right there. Gets out. Mariah's over here, probably on her last breath. Valley and Caitlin are fast going into shock. He gets out. I don't know what he did, but he did not do what a human should do in that situation. He looked over the bodies. He saw Shane Ford came on the scene. And meanwhile, while he's checking the bodies, my other daughter, Jenna, has a curfew at 12, is driving home. She sees a car in her eyes. She has to get in the other driveway, and she's going over the grill of the truck, which you'll see a picture of. Thank God she didn't see that. But meanwhile, this cold, calculating coward, and I mean that in all earnest, gets out of his car, checking things out. He's checking the fence out. Why, I do not know. He sees this other truck coming on the street. He runs over 25 yards, gets in the passenger window and say, I'm okay. I just hit a deer. My deer. Their deers. Shane Ford goes, hey, you been drinking? Yeah, I have been. So get out of here. Shane Ford, by the act of providence, says, deers do not come down this way. Gets out and sees Mariah and gives mouth-to-mouth Mariah. And he sees Valerie and Caitlin moaning and groaning over there, and he's yelling at the top of his lungs in the neighborhood to call 911. Excuse me. Meanwhile, this cold, calculating coward gets on his truck and goes this way, turns around and comes back and almost hits Shane Ford, giving mouth-to-mouth to Mariah. One decision, one unperceived right that he think he had more right to be on the road. Fast forward back to the hospital. I go walking in there, and here's Mariah in a machine, and her chest is going up, chest is going down, and I know it ain't going to be good. Call the priest for last rites, and the priest comes in, or the doctor comes in and says, you know, Leo, I am not a neurosurgeon, and I do not know if she is brain dead. We have to get you to St. Pat's. You have a beautiful, graceful hospital here. And if you work there, I can't say enough. So I go in there, and here she is in the machine. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's get on life flight. Let's get down there. And they all come in there and said, you know, Mr. McCarthy, you have to leave the room because we have to prep her. I said, no, I am not leaving my daughter. I remember when she was born that I sung an Irish lullaby in her ears. And they said, well, you can sit there. And They walk over and they give me this pound of clothing, about 15 pounds of blood and brain matter, and say, here, can you hold this? In that moment, I thought of this, singing in her ears, to this, as a teenager, to this. That's what alcohol does. That's what the disease of deniability is out there that says you have more rights to drink and drive than anybody. We get on to St. Pat's, we put her on the air, or the helicopter, and mind you, I couldn't get on the helicopter because this guy hit her so hard that she needed more machines. So we go down, we're driving down to Missoula at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I get this call. It says, hey, Leo, she's here, she's stable, and she's strong. I said, you bet. She's my daughter. She's going to be okay. We walk into the door, and the neurosurgeon meets us. And he says, Leo, she ain't going to make it. You should think about donating her body to science. I said, oh, okay. Sure. What does that entail? And if you could put up the PowerPoint, please. Okay. This is a birth certificate. It's hers. We all have one. If you're in high school in here, talk to your parents to see one. Create memories with this at the dinner table. Please. That's what I looked at his eyes at court trial, and I said, you know, I am my wife, and God made this. Next one, please. That's what he created. It's a death certificate. You see that signature there? I told him, you wrote that. You're the author of that. And for those out there right now that are in the belief that you can, and I know probably none of them are here, but if you talk to people, think, I like to have my kids at my house, I'll provide them the alcohol because I can protect them. You're putting a fingerprint on one of those things. The people that buy the beer is your fingerprint. The people that do not stop that man by his coat when he's leaving the bar or he's leaving your house could be a fingerprint, because it takes a community to do something like Chad said. And also, if you talk to people, say, well, I still like to make them feel comfortable and drink at my house. Do you know the beer that you're giving to that kid could have addictive personality, and you're creating a long-time problem? So that's a very sacred piece of paper that I have, and I show that to anywhere I go. Next picture, please. There's my baby. That is the disease of deniability right there. That's what happens. You know, in that song, Living Years by Mike and Mechanics, there's a section there that says, each generation blames the preceding generation. Well, we started Mariah's Challenge Scholarship Fund this year. We call it the we generation. Not the game, but we. We all know we've done it. We all know we did it. What we need to do is accept that and correct that. I don't want any more like that. And tell you the truth, I always used to believe it wouldn't happen to me. Well, it happened to 3 people, 3 daughters, a block away from a home. And every morning when I get the newspaper, I see his house. So please, continue what you're doing here. Continue the conversation. Honor our fallen. Because we can lock the gates of heaven from this side. We can do it. And what you're doing here we can make sure it happens by conversation and by the dinner table. Next one, please. This is what you do. You fill out when you donate your body, your daughter's body, to a donor. That was signed on October 28th, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Her murderer was getting out of jail at that time. And I say murder because I don't think the excuse of drinking and driving is an excuse because they were drunk. And I know the officers in the room can attest they've never seen a whiskey bottle, a beer bottle, or a wine bottle driving a truck or a car. It's the person that needs help. And what you do, you sit in there and they said, you know, Leo, we're going to harvest her organs. I don't know if you're in ranch situations. That means cows, wheat. But you know, that's my baby girl that I have to sign and my wife have to sign at the bottom to say, she's yours. And St. Pat's is a great hospital, but boy, I tell you, they're very prepared to do things and to help lives. Next one, please. This is a letter that you get from when you donate your organs. It tells you thank you. Her kidneys went to a grandmother in Florida. Her eyes went to someone in California so that teenager could see the sunrise and sunsets. Her liver went to someone in Washington who had a chronic problem so they could live. One decision, one beer. But this person drank 24 beers. Next one, please. One more. The trucks aren't on there? Okay, that's fine. It didn't carry over. The other pictures I had here were pictures of the truck. Shows you the head imprints on the truck and shows the grill out. That is a weapon out there. And I show that to high school kids and I say, you know, may not worry about it now, but you will, because we're all going to be fathers and we're all going to be mothers, somewhere, somehow, either through biological or adoption. What needs to be done, to me, in my town, is looking at that reflection in the mirror, and we have, and we're starting to do things. Because you know there's culture in everything. There's a culture in your family, there's a culture in your town, there's also a culture in corporations. And it can change by conversations. I hope no one here has to do a eulogy when they're not prepared. I wasn't prepared to sit in front of a packed church to talk about my daughter. But you know, the day before the eulogy, 2 days before the eulogy, all of her friends came over the house and gave pictures on billboards and hugged and cried. And I didn't know what to say to those. I saw those ears. I saw those tears in their eyes. I had no power. Of course, us parents always know that we can say things to make things better. And I couldn't. I just said, hey, good comes out of bad, always. Don't lay in the grief gutter. Step up. We can be better. So in the eulogy, where my friends were all there, I put forth a challenge. And I thought I was just talking to 4 kids, saying, you know, stick with me. You go through high school and do not drink. Don't do drugs. Give back your community and be brave and self-respect. I'll be there. I'll give you some money to go to school when you graduate. But you got to help me. I did not know I'd be in front of a great town and a great bunch of people. Because with the help of Bill Foley, Chad Oker, Stan Haffey, Bob Benny, who handles the Idaho-Washington Mirage Challenge, it's growing so much. my good friend Jim Lynch was one of the keynote speakers with Lieutenant Governor Bollinger last year, and we gave out $31,000 to 31 students. Students who stepped up and said, no, I don't need to do that. And of course, maybe they're just using Mariah's Challenge as a way to say no, and that's okay. Because you know, every situation you get into, you're better than that. I will say you two are greater than any situation you get into. Believe that, please. And if you don't believe it, talk to the people at your table. Talk to your friends, because you're always greater than the situation you get into. Please. The kids took the money. They're coming back on April 21st, and we're having another scholarship. And we're hoping to give out that amount of money. Bill Foley ran in the New York Marathon for Mariah's Challenge, and they raised $36,000 for us. We're going to run it again next year because it's Mariah's year, and I want to go out with a big bang. And yes, I'm going to run it. I am not built for speed. I am built for comfort. So I hope to break the record of 10 hours running 26 miles. So where do we go from here? I go back to Butte thinking and knowing that Butte has a sister city. That this family of this dining room that we're sitting in is going to start a discussion. It's going to start something to say our youth are worth it. And we do not need any more of the sacred ripped from us by poor decision making. Because if it ain't going to be us, who? If not now, when? And if not in Butte and Missoula, where? Because it has to be. I do hope you continue this dialogue, this conversation, and don't worry about the reflection in the mirror. It'll come back, smile, and correct it. But continue what you're doing here. Of a father of a group that I don't want any more members. I don't mind being the father that makes people hug their kids a little tighter when I walk by. I don't mind being that. But I do mind if we as a state, as a city of human beings, do not put more value on life than thinking that we can drink. I will always be for Mariah's Challenge, and I always will be fighting for it. As long as there's one kid out there that says, yeah, I'm tougher, I'm better. And I always will be there. And so will these kids. Thank you for letting me go through this emotional roller coaster. But I will do it anytime, because if it saves those two kids there, or any of these kids, I will do it. And these guys will do it too. We're going to show you one more video of where we've been. And you're going to see a familiar guy there that came to Butte. He's now the president. And you're going to see some pictures of him wearing a wristband. I do want to tell you that the guy that cornered President Barack Obama was a Republican and wouldn't let him get out of the train or the line until he wore a wristband and put an angel pin on. He's a parent too. He has two kids, and he understands what Mariah's Challenge is about. It's just about this. It's about heart. It's about taking care of each other. Thank you. Thank you. Back at you. Thank you. Before we leave, I'm going to leave some time open up for questions. Please ask anything you want. I want to leave a message for you, because when you leave here, you're a messenger for hope. And I hope the message got to the point that it makes you think and makes you, most of all, talk. Hang on 1 second. I'll have to call my daughter and say, how do you run this? Here we go.
Can you just leave me a message? I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.
Now we play that.
Hey, this is Mariah. Sorry I missed your call. Can you just leave me a message? I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks. Bye.
Please be a message of life. Help these kids grow old. We can be better. God bless.
Thank you very much. I really want to send you home with the message that this is the start of the conversation. It doesn't end here. We are making progress. Good things are happening, but we have miles and miles to go. So if you take anything from this evening, I hope that you take the message and you pass it on to those that you love and care about and those that you think might be at risk. And I hope that you take with you the challenge. And whether that becomes Missoula Meets the Challenge or we carry on Mariah's challenge, I cannot tell you. But I can promise that we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to keep beating the streets. We're having the education and the information out there all the time. We keep working with our partners to do what's important and do the right thing. I thank you so much for being part of this evening, part of this conversation, and hopefully you have taken something pretty powerful with you. Please ask questions. There are tons and tons of resources in the room, lots and lots of professionals, lots of caring individuals. So please stay, ask questions. If you haven't gotten something tonight answered, ask us. We'll get it answered for you. We'll get you a resource. We'll find something. Again, I really appreciate the fact that you're all here and you're sharing this conversation with us. We're going to continue this conversation over at Sentinel High School. We have an event coming up April 21st, and we have a band coming out. We have some local bands coming, and we're partnering with City Life here, and we are hoping to launch and help them launch a brand new parent coalition, which is Activate Missoula, and we hope to make them a partner in the conversation about underage drinking and the importance of changing the culture of alcohol here in Missoula. So please be part of that, watching for more information, and go out and check out their website, Activate Missoula. We appreciate you all. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you. Thanks.